I'm Sarah Puccini. I'm the Assistant Director at the Lackawanna Historical Society. We have some special guests today for our program. We're doing kind of an extended commercial for our upcoming Beyond the Hill, Exploring the Abingtons project. This is coming up this weekend. This is a continuation of our, what used to be Rooted in the Hill and then the historic Hill House tour that we've been doing, the Historical Society has been doing since 1999, highlighting homes and properties in Scranton's Hill section. This year, we're going beyond the hill. We're looking at properties in the Abingtons, in Clark Summit, Clark's Green, Waverly, and South Abington Township. So we had to draw new maps. It was a whole thing. We're very excited about a new region, some new things to spotlight. We're working again with the Greenhouse Project in NAOG. Janet is here from the Greenhouse Project. You'll hear from her in a little bit. And then behind me is Richard Leonori. Richard is one of the trustees of the Historical Society. He's an architect as well, so he'll chime in about some of the properties that you'll be seeing. So we'll do a bit of an awkward musical chairs here. Just bear with us as we're going. But I think as we're as we're going through, if you have any questions, please let us know. So the tour is this coming Sunday. Advance tickets are still available. You could purchase them online until I think midnight tonight, and then you can still get them in person tomorrow here at the Catlin House, at the Gathering Place in Clark Summit, at the Greenhouse Project, and at Nada and Company. There are still pre-sale tickets available. And then tickets the day of the tour on Sunday will be available at the Waverly Community House. Tickets day of are $35. Tickets in advance are $30. So we hope you can join us for that. But as we're going along, I think it'll be a good little sneak peek of what we have coming up. Part of the fun this year is the Abingtons as a community are much earlier than Scranton. Scranton really kind of started primarily after the Scrantons came in 1840. Different.
I'm on the computer.
Stephanie. And then they predate. There are more colonial era settlers, people who started coming in the 1780s and 1790s. Conveniently, many of them are named Clark. So it gives you a hint as to why the Abington communities retain that name today. Deacon William Clark was one of the first settlers in the area. He brought his three sons with him. There's a whole perilous story of their journey down from Connecticut, involving rafting up the Susquehanna River, and it's a very dramatic and wild tale. They built a stagecoach stop along what is today South Abington Road, where the servant church of the Abingtons is today. That was the site of Clark's Tavern, in the traditional New England community green space, with the tavern, and there was a county green where the militia used to meet as well. So that, I said, where the servant church of the Abingtons is that original site there today, for some perspective. And then obviously Deacon William Clark lent his name to the area, for Clark's Summit and Clark's Green are both named for the Clark family. So we're also looking at two properties in Waverly. Waverly has that same kind of colonial roots, but Waverly also has an Underground Railroad history that we're really bringing into the tour this year. Waverly started as it was along two separate trails of the Underground Railroad, but it ended up being a space where escaped slaves stayed, where they lived and set up communities. So one of the homes on our tour encompasses some of that. It combines a former African Methodist Episcopal church, and then the home of an escaped slave named Lawton Norris. Those two buildings are part of the one property, and they're both on the tour. So we'll feature some of that Underground Railroad history as well. So we're moving from colonial to Underground Railroad. Also, we have new houses. The Hill is kind of set in what it was. The Hill section had a lot of earlier larger houses from the 1880s, 1890s. What's in the Abingtons are a little more recent. We have a few very, very new houses, conveniently built by people who live in them. So I had a weird time as I was doing the program book for this year. Usually we talk about the former owners of the house, how it was developed, how it was built. The architect Alex Kamide, his home is on the tour. He built it for he and his wife. And I was like, well, okay, there are no previous owners. You built your own house, and you live there. Well, all right. So, but it's a great space, very modern, very light filled, very based on where it is. There's a great sense of place in the house, as only an architect building for himself can do. It's really spectacular. And there's another similar home that Alex Kamide built as well. That's part of the tour. I'll let Richard talk about Peter Bolin, who's another architect on our tour, architect and homeowner on our tour. He is the one who has converted those Underground Railroad properties for his home. We do have some garden spaces as well. We're working with Trinity Lutheran Church on Grove Street. They will have the church open. I think they have some photos and exhibits inside the church that day. And there's some very nice landscaping in front. That they have a group of garden volunteers who maintain that property. We're also working with Hillside Park and the Abington Community Garden out in South Abington Township on the way to near the Clark Summit State Hospital. There's the community garden, the vegetable garden plots that are part of the tour. If you have time, and hopefully it will be a nice day to walk around the rest of the park, there are several playing fields there as well. There's a memorial garden, there's a pavilion, and they are planning to have refreshments in the Abington Community Center as well. So there's a good place to take a break. There are also 2 private gardens that are part of the tour. One in Waverly on Lily Lake Road, and another one on, I think it's Park Street in Clark Summit, that have some really neat features. But I'll leave them as kind of a secret. We're enjoying our partnership with the greenhouse to bring in some green spaces as well, along with just the homes. Janet, I'll turn it over to you for a bit if you want to talk a little bit about the greenhouse project itself, and then some of the sites.
Sure. Hi, welcome. Thank you. The greenhouse project is located in Nayog Park, and we're mainly plant sales. We sell a lot of plants. Our season is almost done for the plant sales, but there are a lot of free ones outside. If you want to take a drive by the greenhouse, there's a big sign that says free plants. So now is a good time to get your plants. We also have 2 community gardens in the hill section. One on Myrtle and Monroe, which houses 26 gardens, and one on North Irving and Vine, which has 10 gardens. So it's a good community center. And the one on Myrtle and Monroe are actually mostly Bhutanese, so we need an interpreter there. But it's very interesting how they garden. They put big sticks in the ground and the vines grow up the sticks. It's very, very interesting and beautiful. And we are a nonprofit, and a lot of education about growing your own food, eating healthy, how it affects your life and your health also. The gardens that we have this year are the Lily Lake Road, which looks beautiful, and the other one is on Park Street, and I guess it has a little bridge over the water, and he has rhododendrons and yews and phlox and herb garden, a vegetable garden, lilies, boxwood, bluebells, creeping phlox, peonies, and many other plants. So it looks like it's going to be a beautiful garden to view. I can't wait to go on the tour. Anything else, Sarah?
No, I think that's good. Thank you. So we're trying to keep the private gardens as a secret, as a surprise. So there's some really neat things to see in them. So we're, thank you for helping us with the connections for those and the volunteering. So there's a little surprise there. I'm gonna switch over with Richard here. We have photos of some of the houses on the tour, and I'll let Richard talk a little bit more about the architecture for that. So just give me a.
Well, okay, so we'll start with this particular house, and I know that this served as like a supper club or tea parlor for a while. It's a very interesting house in craftsman style. You can see the bungalow influences, the deep overhangs. One of the things about this house is that it has a 40 some foot long living room, which is very, very unusual. As you know, most of the houses in northeastern Pennsylvania, given our climate, are sort of prone to having small rooms. And so there is a great sweep of space inside. The detailing carries through pretty much what you see here. It's a very interesting site. It backs onto the Clark Summit Cemetery and making for, I think, a very attractive backyard. It is filled with antiques and treasures, and I'm sure that people will sort of love going through it. You can see the shingle, the slight Japanese effect. This was by many people called the pagoda for a very long time. And at one point in time, the house was painted red. So I think it'll be a treat for people to go through this, and you'll see how unique the architecture is in the Abingtons. Let's move on. Look at this. We're here in the Cotswolds, right? This beautiful English country estate, the graduated slate roof, the stone walls. This was built by the German family. One of the things that Michael Gilmartin, our president, mentioned the other night was that, you know, the Abingtons were seen as a place of recreation and a place to get out of the summer heat for many Scrantonians. Well, the German family, they were great hunters, and this was built as a hunting lodge for them. A little more than 100 years ago. But you can see it's very English in style, very picturesque. The house has had a little bit of a checkered history, so the new owners are in a restoration project. And I personally have not been in it in a long time, but I'm very much looking forward to it. But look at that. You tell me what country that house is in. Okay? Just beautiful. We will enjoy that. This is Alex Kamaid's house. And one of the things that I write about in the booklet is that architects view their own homes often as places to explore their theories and their ideas. And Alex built this over a period of years, the first phase in the 1980s and later in the early 2000s. And I think you can see that some of his thinking changed. The original house is extremely postmodern. It was more so with its original color scheme. It's been toned down somewhat, but the central axis and the sort of rusticated base and the colonnade, all of it very, very postmodern. His addition, which includes the family room as his family grew, family room and master bedroom, so that he and his wife could sleep on the first floor, is very, very modern. And you can see that it's an extension or an extrusion from the house. Inside, everything looks to the garden. It's very, very light and very airy. Some beautiful modern artwork, carefully placed. Alex escaped Cuba as a young boy. I know that he did look at or did think about buying an older house, but ultimately, I don't think he found the northeastern Pennsylvania houses with their closed dark rooms and no access to the garden to suit his needs. So this is about as Cuban as one can do in in northeastern Pennsylvania. And I don't say that in any kind of disparaging way. It's a beautiful mix of adapting some architectural ideas to a different climate. This is one of Alex's original projects, very much in the modernist vein. So you can see that over the years, this was in the late 70s. And so what we have is cedar siding and, the influences of that particular period of time. Absolutely no decoration, minimal color. This house is all about the sequence of space. And as one enters this house and goes through it, you'll find that eventually it opens up into a two-story volume, which is depicted on the left. And so it's a sense of coming into something that's sort of closed and sheltering, and then terminating in something that is open and delightful. I haven't been in this house for a number of years. It is the third owner, so I'll be very curious to see, what has been done with this house. But I think people will find it very interesting. And I think what you would be able to see here in terms of Alex's work, and he is now retired, the sort of transition that he made. This first, then the postmodern original box of his own house, and then the modernist edition that he put on after that. These houses are right next door to each other, by the way. And that'll make that easy. And then this is Peter Boland's house, and this was hard to believe that was an African American church, right? But you know, if you don't know Peter Boland, Peter is an extraordinary man who's had an incredible career, very, very recognized as an American modernist architect. He is not retired, but he continues to practice. And pretty much the building that was originally here, he pretty much took apart and reassembled. It is very open and very spatially flowing. He created a pond as a backyard, and which is quite beautiful. And one of the things he told me about that pond was that, you know, if you don't really see the edge of the water, you think it goes on forever. And so there are places here where you feel as though the water goes on forever. The flowing space goes on forever. It's a very casual house. Peter has worked for some of the richest corporations and richest people in the country. And certainly given a really big budget, he does a gorgeous job, like the Apple Store in Midtown Manhattan. But his own home retains the modesty, like the man and his wife, and the life that they live in this lovely house. So I hope people get to see this. It's a delightful property, totally unexpected. One more, okay. And then now this is okay. So we drive by this every day, and we probably don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, but it is a very handsome property, and largely it is here for its landscaping and its garden. And we can see we have a brick Gothic revival building that has a postmodern addition where the gables and peaks and roofs recall the original building. I do believe also we will be able to go inside the church if you haven't seen it. And I have been in there. It's really quite a charming place. Is this it? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, for that. And I do have one more, just very quickly. We mentioned the Abington Community Garden at Hillside Park. It is, I think, 70 some plots, primarily of vegetables. And they had some neat photos that they shared with us. That will be open for touring. I said there are also across the street, the bulk of Hillside Park. Said if the weather is nice, please go enjoy the rest of the sites in the park as a bit of a different space to what the rest of the tour is. So there's the quick overview of what we have. This tour is a tremendous amount of work to put on, but one of the fun parts is to actually go visit all of these places and have people who live there, who have worked on these houses, who are very proud of the restoration work and the work that they've done on their homes and their gardens, and they show you their favorite parts of it. So it's fun to learn, what everybody else likes about their home and how they've changed it and how it works for them and how they live there. There's a couple of places I always pick one out. I'm like, okay, so when you move, let me know, because this is the place where I want to live. I said in Alex Kamide's house, I would like to come over there on a rainy day. His living room on the end has wraparound windows, and the couch is right in that little windowed corner. And I'm like, yes, that's a good place for a book and a blanket. I could do that. Thank you. Yes. So there's always a spot or two that I could pick out as I'm going around. So part of the tour, as you're going around, to please admire, the work that they've done. We hope that you get some inspiration for your own properties that you could take back with you. So as you can see, the tour this year really kind of runs the gamut from some earlier properties that are a little more straightforward. Takes in some of that, the Abington's reputation as the summer residence for wealthy Scrantonians with the former German hunting lodge. There's some neat details in there. There's a room that German built to be his trophy room, and the windows, there's leaded casement windows, and in each window there is the medallion of different game animals that German had bagged on his hunting expeditions. So each window has a different animal. So there's a bit of a scavenger hunt involved in that one too. And in that house, Tori has done an awful lot of work with her gardens. She has more than 700 different kinds of roses. It's a lovely, lovely space. I was there before they really started to bloom. But she has a dedicated Instagram that is very much all about roses now. So there's kind of a twofer there for that property with the home and the garden. Mary Ann, did you want to chime in since I see you now? Hello. Mary Ann and I are both awkwardly in the same room, so I can see the back of her head on the screen. It's a whole thing. So again, that's our quick overview for our tour. It is this Sunday from 10 to 4. Tickets the day of are $35 and they'll be available at the Waverly Community House. The Catlin House will be closed that day. So we're not going to make you schlep to Scranton and go back up to the Abingtons. So tickets day of are available at the Waverly Community House. Tickets in advance are available. You could get them through our website online until midnight tonight, or in person here at the Catlin House, the Gathering Place in Clark Summit, the Greenhouse, or Nada and Company tomorrow as well. And then on Sunday, they'll be available during the day. So hopefully it will not rain, and we will have a lovely day. Janet, again, thank you for your help and your partnership. Richard, again, for always sharing your knowledge. And when I ask you, what is that little doohickey on top of the house, to not laugh at me with my architectural terms. And Stephanie Silvestri is here as well. Stephanie has put together a group of volunteers from the library. So we're grateful to her and her help. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. We will not have a pastimes program in July. We're taking a bit of a summer break there. We will return in August with a woman talking about the West Mountain Sanitarium. So we're starting to get into a Halloween mode already in August. So that'll be our August program. We'll have more information about that again toward the end of August. That will be August 25th. And we'll send out more about that as we get closer. So again, thank you everyone. We hope to see you on Sunday for the tour, and have a lovely weekend otherwise.